talk about scaling, and you're going to hear from the operators who have been scaling for quite a while in some cases. So let's come on out. Leading this panel for us, we have Marina, Mikkelsen, newer to GrowGeneration as their Director of Cultivation, coming over from Verano. But you have such an amazing panel. Let's give it up for Marina and this next session talking about scaling. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marina Mikkelsen, Director of Cultivation and Technical Support for GrowGeneration, the nation's leading grow provider. We offer design services and technical grow solutions for commercial operators. Before joining GrowGeneration, I served as Vice President of National Cultivation for Verano Holdings, leading large-scale cultivation across 12 states, including Ohio. And I had the privilege of working with Trent McDermott for many years. Having helped build facilities from the ground up, I know how quickly the realities of scaling, compliance, consistency, and cost discipline define long-term success. Today's conversation, Scaling in Motion, How You Can Build a Lasting Cannabis Business, is about sustainability in the broad sense: operational, financial, and organizational. Ohio's market is still maturing, and this group has lived those growing pains. So let's do some quick introductions of today's panelists. Can you please share your name, your role, Ohio footprint, and one priority for 2026? We'll start with you, Trent.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Thanks for these guys to continue to put on great educational conferences. My name's Trent Woloveck. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Jushi Holdings. We're a multi-state operator, publicly traded since 2019. Here in Ohio, born and raised, so super proud of our footprint. We have a level 2 grow up in Toledo, a manufacturing facility here in Columbus. I guess we're down in Cincinnati, but in Ohio. And then we have 6 operational stores, going to 7, hopefully here in a couple weeks. So that's our footprint. My 2026, what's my goal? Shut down the hemp bill loophole.
Nicole Stark with Bloom Cannabis. We're a fully vertically integrated operator here in Ohio. We have 7 stores as well as a level 1 cultivation facility. We carry the Wonder Grove brand, our in-house brand, as well as Jim Belushi's brand and Wiz Khalifa.
Gibran, Washington, CEO Ethos Cannabis. We're a fully vertical operator here in Ohio. We have a grow facility, the only grow facility in the legendary Meigs County, which I'm sure all you Ohioans know what that's like. And we also carry the Meigs County brand. We also have retail stores in Lebanon and New Lexington.
Trent McDermott with Verano, work on the operations side. We have 6 dispensaries here in Ohio and a cultivation site up in Canton.
Jared Maloof, I'm the CEO of Standard Wellness and The Forest. In Ohio, we have a level 1 cultivator, processor, and 4 open dispensaries with 4 on the way. We also operate in Missouri, Utah, and we have an interest in Maryland. And for sustainable scalability, how do we sustainably scale the hemp industry out of the Ohio market would be my.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mine is to survive 2026. That's it. Just survive.
That's a good goal. All right, Nicole, since adult use launched, what's the single biggest change that you made, and what changed because of it?
We've shifted from serving solely medical patients to becoming much more data-driven and customer segmented. We've started to look at who's coming in our door a lot more closely, who are our first-timers, our loyalists, who are our customers that are our value seekers. And we've said, how can we build retail systems to better understand these customers? How can we improve our mix of products? How can we increase the effectiveness of our promotions? So, for example, when we run a promotion, we're looking at who's buying, what are they buying, when are they buying, and is that promotion driving repeat visits? We carefully analyze this data, and then we make a determination on how we can optimize our inventory better as a means to reduce the number of markdowns and reduce the number of stockouts. Secondly, and this is probably a practice that all of the operators have done, we've trained our agents or our bud tenders to employ what I call a velocity and value model. We want them to move quickly through transactions as we're seeing a big increase in direct use, and still deliver that same level of customer service. So I'm proud to say our Net Promoter Scores are still very high. All the while, we've been able to accommodate for the increased transaction volume.
Jared, same. What did you change and what happened?
A lot of what Nicole said. We certainly worked extremely hard on getting lined up for the pre-roll launch. That was certainly important, and we were lucky enough to be one of the first last month, or in September, 2 months ago now. And then obviously identifying retail locations and sites and getting those sites through the process of permitting, design, permitting, and zoning, and then ultimately construction. The other thing is, lastly, Standard Wellness. It's got a kind of a very medical name to it, and so we're focused on building brands now that have a little bit more of a fun aspect while still complying with Ohio's, rules and regulations.
Gibran, same question to you.
I think just to piggyback on what both of them said, I think we did a lot of those same things, and we really kind of leaned into our identity. Who are we as an organization, and who are we going to be with the customer? So the experience for us is where we understood that in every state, you're going to have everyone chasing for customers, going after discounts, and trying to get new customers in the door. But what happens when they do come in the door? They don't want to come back. So we really dialed in on operational efficiencies and really made sure that people understood what our house brand was. And that experience when you came in was full of education. Talked about our quality and the research that we do, and I think that's the stickiness that has allowed us to be, I think we're the number 2 or number 3 dispensary in the state in Lebanon.
Wow. Jared, what's one move that protected margin without raising price, and what KPI moved?
You and me?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, can you ask that again? I thought you were looking at Trent. I thought you were.
Sorry.
Okay. What was the question?
Sorry, what's one move that protected margin without raising price, and what KPI moved?
Certainly automation, automated pre-roll machine, automated packaging. There are certain new developments in automated trimming where you can barely tell the difference between something that's hand trimmed and machine trimmed. So that will be one margin protecting thing. The other one that's a little bit more challenging for the industry is on the retail side, when you get shared promotions with the wholesaler, it ends up diluting the wholesaler's margins while retaining the retail margins. And we experience it on the wholesale side just as we, deliver it on the retail side as well.
Nicole, same to you. What did you do and what changed?
We've become very disciplined with our processes, specifically at the cultivation facility. So we're looking at every step of our process, whether it's the genetics we select, the trim process, the packaging runs, and we're trying to standardize that as much as possible. This has allowed us to improve our quality, all the while reducing waste. The second big practice is we're negotiating even harder with our suppliers. The tariffs have obviously affected a lot of our packaging inputs, and we're working hard to get our vendors to absorb some of those costs.
That's a great point. Gibran, same question to you.
I hate going third because they take all the good answers and all the obvious ones. So, when you talk about protecting a margin, there's only one way, there's two ways you can do it. You can either raise pricing or you can cut costs. So I think what they said is right there. But I think the bigger thing, at least for us being vertical, is what we did was shifted a lot more to our house branded products. That is where you can really absorb all the efficiencies that you gain at your grow facilities, and then obviously negotiating with your third-party partners. But those are really the only two ways without actually raising pricing. And I will say, for all of you wonderful cannabis people, it would be wonderful if in 1 year in cannabis, the price of cannabis went up, instead of being the only industry in the world where for the last 7 years the price keeps coming down. So we would love margins to be affected not through our efficiencies, but through being able to charge more for the wonderful miracle plant that we have.
Very well said.
Or you
Trent.
can give us hemp stuff. If we hemp taxes, we'll take that too.
Good point. Trip, where has automation improved quality or margin the most? And where do you still keep manual control and why?
On the automation front, as of late, with the pre-roll regulations changing here, that's probably the latest automation move that we've made. So we've brought in joint machines, and we've used these in a number of other states where we operate, where pre-rolls are allowed. And we've taken, over the last 18 months, taken a lot of time working with the manufacturers of these pre-roll machines. Typically, pre-roll machines move very dry flower. They also tamp very heavily into the cone, and I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here, but we wanted to work with them so that we could deliver the proper moisture content of the flower so that it has that amazing nose and aroma for the end consumer. We also want to make sure that we're adjusted. We had control over a lot of the settings to adjust the tamping and allowing for that smooth pull. So that's one example of the latest automation that we've moved into the facility. We also have automation in the kitchen, same thing with our lab and vape filling, working with new parts and pieces to make sure that we're decarbing and we're not overheating oil, and we're delivering the resins and the rosins and the oils at the most ideal temperatures and quality to the end consumer. That's something that we're really focused on over the last 18 months, is reviewing all of our processes. Where has automation helped us to scale, but where has it hurt us in quality? And so the last part of your question about what are we doing manually still, we're still manually sorting, hand trimming, and hand packing a lot of our flower to make sure that we're not damaging trichomes, bud structure, and that it's getting to the end consumer in that ideal state. So we've spent a lot of time working with the equipment manufacturers so that we can focus on other areas working manually.
It's very important. Trent, same to you. Where did it help and what stays manual?
Yeah, I think, for us, we are all, looking at and trying to understand, where the consumer is going to land here in Ohio. It's a little bit different because, we have the state to the north, like Michigan, that's a much more mature adult use market. And then we also are fighting the illicit market through hemp. And so for us, we view this as something that we need to do from a vertical perspective, as a lot of the panelists have said. For us, it's that good, better, best model, so launching different brands in each one of those categories. And so something that goes into our Hijinks brand, which is our top tier, is done very much manually, whereas you get to the lower tier, the sachet, that's something that's much more automated. And so I think there's a fine balance in this industry that needs to be had between manually versus automation. And so what we want to do is make sure what's going in the bag is of the highest quality, and it meets the expectation of the patient and or consumer.
Jared, same to you. Where did it help and what are you still doing by hand?
So we are, like a top shelf, we'll obviously hand trim and hand pack. But we do leverage automation where we can. It's as many understand, this industry is a race to the bottom, and he mentioned it'd be nice to see a year in which prices went up when all input costs, or when prices went up. Unfortunately, prices continue to come down while all input costs go up. The cost of regulation, the cost of materials, the cost of fuel, the cost of everything has gone up, electricity. So it is a real challenge, but the companies that are going to be building a sustainable platform have to utilize automation. And so we've, like I said, the automated trimmers, automated packaging, automated, we're even actually evaluating, people in this room understand how labor-intensive gramming up concentrates are. Or looking at something to automate that process as well.
I know that this is a popular subject right now, but let's start with you, Trent. How are hemp products affecting your Ohio strategy?
It's a $1.5 billion industry here in Ohio. And so 1.5 billion is a big number. It's a very big number. And the issue is not so much that it's selling $1.5 billion of product. It's $1.5 billion of product that has yeast, mold, mildew, heavy metals, pesticides, you name it, it's in these products. They also have synthetic cannabinoids in there, even some semi-synthetic, which, you know, we don't know what they do or how they affect folks. We have a general idea what THCP does, what HHC does, and so you know, what that does is really cause consumer confusion, but also I think it does a huge disservice from a normalization of cannabis, both here in the state of Ohio, but at the federal level as well. And so I think it's on us to continue to educate folks about what's actually happening out in the communities, what that means for consumers, and how and what the risks are of, you know, going into the gas station and buying some bunk product rather than something that's independently third-party tested, full trace and trackability like we have in the regulated industry, and know where everything comes from, and then sold by folks that you know, have 401ks, health benefits, a real career that we're building versus, you know, the folks that we know are selling intoxicating and synthetic cannabinoids. And so, you know, I think for us, it's the education piece, and for legislators, regulators, and folks in general that, you know, can have impact, it's a public health and safety nightmare, and it's starting to bubble up. So we just need to continue to educate and talk about it.
I'd like to open this question up to the group because I know that everyone has a lot of thoughts on this. Gibran, would you like to start it off?
Sure. I mean, when it comes to hemp, I mean, I think everything you said is very valid. I mean, I think for us in the regulated cannabis space, we have no problem with hemp if hemp had to go through the same rigorous process that we had to go through. If they had to raise the same amount of capital, that we would have no problem playing in the same boat. But I think for us, it's frustrating when people say we should all be legal, it's just hemp, it should all be legal, when the people in the hemp space didn't have to go through everything it took for us to be able to do what we're actually doing. So when we level the playing field, I'll see any hemp person in any closet, any room you want to go into, we'll crush you. But we cannot do what you're actually doing. So if you let us play with you play, then we'll crush you. So until there's a level playing field, something has to be done with hemp. Not because we don't like hemp, we love the cannabis plant, we love all the wonderful initial properties of the cannabis plant, but let's stop acting like we're talking about two people playing the same game, when that's just not really what it is.
100%. Trip, what are your thoughts on hemp?
The entire marijuana movement, one of the biggest pillars was safety and transparency, to what Trent just said. And you have the marijuana side that's abiding by all the regulations, as was previously mentioned, the costs that are associated with it, and the regulations. So obviously not catering to children or to kids, and you have anybody that can go into a gas station and purchase D8 hemp products that are intoxicating. And as Gibran said, it's just, we're not playing the same game, and people are very slow to move on something that is very clear and obvious that it needs to be regulated, it needs to be inspected, and it's a public safety issue. So it's also, you know, a tax issue. They're not taxed the same. You can keep going on and on about, there are very few similarities of how both sides of the fence are operating. So it's, you know, impacting our business, and we're being penalized for playing by the rules, and this wave of unregulated hemp products have come in and are seriously impacting, you know, everything that we're trying to build upon, you know, in an extremely negative way.
It's unfortunate. Nicole, how are hemp products affecting your Ohio strategy?
I share the sentiment of my fellow operators. Certainly, there's the public safety concern. These products, as you mentioned, are not age-gated. They are very attractive to children. They mimic candy names. We have a joke at my company because we're always submitting new strains and whatnot, and oftentimes they get rejected because they're considered attractive to children. So we say we're going to call our strains "Do the Dishes" or "Eat Your Vegetables" or some kind of a name that clearly won't be attractive to children. But they're getting away with a lot that we're not, is the bottom line. And I'd like to see some action taken here by the government.
Agreed. Jared?
Yeah, I think all the panelists have nailed it. One thing, Trent mentioned $1.5 billion. With the government shutdown and the lack of food stamps out there, there is this push in the State House to use the rainy day fund to give food stamps to people who are going to lose them. And wouldn't that be easier if that $1.5 billion that was taxed had $150 million of tax revenue, 10%, which is what we pay? And these vape shops, these are the same stores that will sell psilocybin, 7-OH, kratom, all sorts of other products. As an industry, we are generally rule followers. Like, we are rule followers. We're up against non-rule followers. And I have watched this industry be extremely docile in our approach to hemp, and it truly is time for the gloves to come off. And we really need to fight, because this next 3 weeks is going to define all of our futures.
Yeah, and just one point to that, because it is an important point, and it's frustrating as an operator to sit up here on the stage with everybody else and know what the law and regulations say within Ohio. It says total THC. Make no bones about that. And so the lack of enforcement from a regulating standpoint, from a law enforcement standpoint, they have it. It's in there. It's in Ohio. So let's go enforce. Talk to the industry. Tell us what you need from a resource perspective, from a educational perspective, because it's there right now. We don't need legislation to go help get these public health and safety issues off the street and into the regulated cannabis space.
Well said, everyone. Gibran, within Ohio's ad rules, what tactic would you repeat because it reliably drove traffic or repeat visits?
Well, with the fact that we don't really have any ad rules yet, the fact that we're a year or so into this and we still have no recreational ad rules, we're authentic. We're an authentic company. At least like we think we are an authentic company. So for us, it's really just leaning into like our 4 pillars, which is research, education, quality, and experience. And we believe, and this may sound a little cliche, and apologies that all these C-suite people up here, and I'm gonna go here, but we still believe cannabis was something you bought in a supermarket parking lot in a Ziploc bag. So if you really understand the history and the culture around cannabis, I think you can start to educate people around what is the therapeutic benefit you're looking at when you come through the door. And when you start having these real trusted conversations that I used to have with my, drug dealer who told me this was a supermarket splash or whatever it was in the bag and would take away all my pain, if it did that and he was able to talk to me through that, I'm going to come back to that person. So when we think about cannabis in this Apple store type of mindset, we still believe it's still that supermarket experience. Ziploc bag weed, don't worry about the brands, make sure that connection, that experience you have with them and the quality that you give them, that's what's gonna bring them back time and time again. So we're old school in that thought process. I know there's people, next door, saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this in order to get more people in the store. We cut $750,000 out of our marketing budget in Massachusetts last year, and I'm proud to say we're up 13% the last 5 months. So I don't know exactly what they do where they do all this marketing stuff, but I do know this works. Word of mouth actually does work time and time and time again, because cannabis is so restricted about how you can market anyways, then why don't you just go back to the basics? Let's be authentic in what we do. Every experience inside the facility is filled with research, education, and the quality will obviously dictate what kind of experience you're going to have when you come into our facility. So it's not a tactic or amount of money that I say you spend on social media or marketing. I'm sorry, marketing people, I don't believe in it in cannabis. Outside of the branding, the menu stops, and all that kind of stuff, all the rest of it, and you guys can look at my data and our stats. We're one of the best retailers in the Northeast. So I don't really get it, but I do know this does work. The culture and the experience and the people is what brings people back time and time and time again.
Absolutely. Trip, same question to you. What would you repeat and why?
I share a lot of the same sentiment there. We've been really focused on quality and customer service over the last 18 months and taking a hard look in the mirror and seeing where we can improve and controlling what we can control here in Ohio. It is customer service. Like Gibran said, it is word of mouth. I think something bad happens to you, you tell 10 people. Something good happens, you tell 3. And if we can create that great customer experience where you tell 3 people and they tell 3 people, it has a factorial impact on the business. And the customers and patients are sticky because they enjoy coming in, they enjoy that customer experience, and so that's what we're heavily leaning on here and across all of our states, is ensuring that our staff is continually trained and we're making tweaks and improvements to how we're working with patients and customers so that they go tell those 3 people and they do want to come back. And you can run all the promos and marketing ads that we run in other states, but at the end of the day, it really does come down to the quality customer experience and the word of mouth that, it's maybe more gradual than a promo or a marketing hit that gets a lot of people in the door for a one-time event, but this has more of a gradual and consistent accretive nature to the business.
It's your reputation. Trent, same question to you. What would you repeat and why?
Yeah, I think from our standpoint, the loyalty program is quite important from now an adult use perspective. I'd point out the same thing. We still operate a medical program. Just anybody over 21 can now walk into our stores, and so I think, for us, we need to continue to put good genetics in the bag, and the quality of the product, what's inside the packaging, is what matters most. At the end of the day, that's what the consumer wants. And so price point's important, potency's important, terpene profile's important, bag appeal's important. All those things you can control when you have a vertical, like everybody, I guess, on this panel does. And so at the end of the day, you got to put the best product forward, and that's what is going to bring people back to your store.
You can never underestimate genetics or quality.
Yeah, we took over a facility in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is a little bit different. You only have one window in December to bring in new genetics, and so you cannot underestimate yield from a plant and potency from a plant, cannabinoid profile, terpene profile. Because we all talk about a race to the bottom. However, when yields go up, when potency goes up, your overall cost, your fixed cost that you have with a facility gets spread out amongst much more product, and so therefore you can compete with the illicit folks that are in this market, and so it's something that you cannot overlook. I think it's the single biggest thing Jushi has done over the last, let's call it 12 to 24 months, is bring in new genetics into our cultivation facilities.
So important, and I remember that pain that you've dealt with in Pennsylvania with that window. I want to ask all of you guys on this panel, you're all very experienced. Can you all give one change a mid-size Ohio operator should make this quarter to be more successful in 2026?
I get to go first on this one. Have a person from your retail store within a mile of your store walk into a smoke shop, vape shop, a gas station, see how many illicit products are being sold and roll that up. Tell it right to me. Reach out, have the conversation, and educate folks about it, because I think that's a major thing that all of the regulated businesses are experiencing, not just in Ohio, but across the country. But from an Ohio perspective, I think we continue to shine through and educate folks on what a right market looks like, what a regulated market looks like. People have gotten out over their skis a little bit in a state like Massachusetts or a market like Michigan, and we've seen a lot of people falter. I think we're at a good balance here in Ohio to make sure everybody that participates in the market can be successful and continue to normalize the plan and push, from an Ohio perspective, but also at a federal level about normalizing what this plant can do and where it should be in this society.
I would recommend curating brands with a loyal following. What you're going to see happen is that your customers are going to start asking for these brands. So it's going to be very bottom up, if you will. The pull-through will increase, demand will increase, the store success will obviously increase. And despite the product landscape becoming a lot more crowded, consumers are still recognizing quality and they're still recognizing consistency, which is why we launched our own brand, Wonder Grove, is to speak directly to that. So I would really focus on curating brands that have a loyal following.
I think if you're a mid-level operator, if you're just a cultivator or you're not vertical, you need to focus on genetics and what you're bringing inside your facility to ensure that the brands that you have can elevate themselves amongst the competition once all the competition comes online. If you're a retailer, I think you need to look in the mirror and authentically ask yourself, why did I decide to be in this industry? And really understand, and not in a bad way, but in a realistic way, because if you join this industry to get rich fast, then run away now. If you join this industry because you have a passion for the plant, you have a passion for the customers that are coming to you recreational medical for some type of therapeutic benefit, then you need to grind in and make sure your entire staff understands your why. So they have that same why, because that's what's going to navigate you through the next 18 to 24 months. You have curious people in the marketplace now looking for someone that they can trust and spend time with to go through these tough conversations with you. So if you're just figuring out the next sale or the best discount, or whatever it may be, you're going to lose that connectivity and that stickiness that we talked about earlier that exists whenever you go from medical to adult use. So really figure out your why and make sure your staff authentically understands why they're doing what they're doing, and that will resonate with your customers, both short-term and in the long term. But if you're vertical, you better go to some basement grows and find some genetics, because the genetics that we're going to be presented over the next 18 months, they're going to be amazing. So you got to make sure that you can actually keep up.
I'd say make sure that you have good people. I agree with everything that was just said, whether you're big, small, medium-sized, vertical, non-vertical, making sure that you have good management at whatever facility or retail you have. It all starts from the top and it has a trickle-down effect, accountability, and making sure that the messages are relayed to the team. If you don't have strong management, and that doesn't mean that you don't have current management, which is sort of, again, looking in the mirror, do I have the right people in the right seat on the bus? And are they doing their job effectively so that you can relay the directives, so that they're taking care of the team, so that they're creating that culture that Gibran was talking about a few questions ago, and a sense of community. Without that, you have turnover. Turnover's costly. You're bringing in new people. You're retraining them, and you're probably training them for some other company to come poach anyway. And so it's a revolving door that doesn't feel good to work in. So making sure that you've got strong managers so that they can take care of the team, and you might not have to be as involved as you would without a strong leader. So.
Everything that the panel has said has been excellent, and I think everybody should be focused on those things. But I also think there will be time to address those things. The question was, what should middle market companies do in the next year? In the next 3 weeks, you need to be talking to your congressman. You need to be talking to your senator. You need to be signing up with OCAN and trying to make sure that we are lobbying this industry because, as I say a lot, if you walk into a hemp shop today, you see the trash can on the corner, you see exposed electrical dust everywhere, and product that is attractive to children all over the place. But imagine what it'll look like 5 years from now. It will be a perfectly curated experience. Everything will look like our dispensaries. There will be national brands with unbelievable genetics. And so the time to address this problem is right now. And so if you're a mid-level operator, you need to be focused on how do we pull together as a community and address intoxicating hemp. And for those of you professional service providers who are on both sides of the fence, pick a side.
Very well
I
said.
see all you lawyers back there in the back.
Okay, yeah, you know who you are.
Well, we have about 3.5 minutes left, so I'd like to open it up to the audience to see if anybody has a question they'd like to ask one of the panelists. Go ahead.
So one of the things that's been interesting to observe is the percent discount and the promotion strategy in Ohio seems to be way more aggressive and worse than markets like Missouri, where candidly there's not the race to the bottom happening that we're seeing starting to happen here. So I guess the question is, what can we do to maybe leverage a smarter pricing promotional strategy to drive the change that you're looking for and really invest in brands?
As a Missouri operator, I guess we're uniquely positioned to answer that. You are seeing that discounting happening in Missouri, and it's getting worse right now in that market because there is one player who commands 50% of the shelf. And while they may be preaching no discounting, on the other hand, they're saying you must, if you want to be on our shelves, you have to give us protect our 63% margins. And so you might not see it at retail as much, but it's happening at wholesale. Now the overall price per pound is absolutely lower in Ohio, but remember, in Missouri, they don't have a Michigan to deal with. We do. And in Missouri, I don't know this for a fact, but anecdotally, it appears as if intoxicating hemp is more pervasive in Ohio than it is in Missouri.
I think a canopy limit would help. I mean, I think that's the one thing. If we're thinking price and discounting is happening now, just wait until all the 100,000 square foot canopies actually come online. You'll see a real race to the bottom. But I mean, to answer that question with this group of people up here, there's like the Sherman antitrust thing that we'd have to worry about. We talk about price fixing. So we can talk offline about some Motel 6 meetings we can possibly have to figure out how we all can get together and say, okay, can we stop? But outside of that, I mean, it's really hard for us with investors or public companies up here to be able to tell their shareholders, like, hey, we're not just going to do anything. It's you have to move this inventory, and that's what it comes down to. So if we figure out how to get the canopies where there's like Massachusetts has this law where if you don't sell 80% of your canopy, you can't grow that the next year. It's never been enforced. But things like that in Ohio going forward are things that would be great, is if people who are not actually selling their canopy aren't making us go to the bottom because now they have inventory they can't get rid of.
And I think the interesting thing that we at Jushi have played around with in multiple different markets, and we're pretty unique here in Ohio. Like, we have a store in Toledo, right on the border with Michigan, and so trying to do like everyday low price value is something we've tried in that market. It absolutely raised revenue, but the margin got shot, so it like doesn't work. Whereas I have a store in Oxford, Ohio, where it's rich college kids that love to spend, their parents' money on cannabis. And so you really have to start looking at individual markets, not a statewide strategy, but like within each community. And so I think from a retail perspective, that's something that's like super important from like a pricing pressure perspective. And as somebody who has 2 stores in Sauget, Illinois, you guys didn't race to the bottom because you started at the bottom in Missouri right out the gate. So it's an interesting dynamic that I think is going to take shape as we continue to normalize the industry as a whole from a retail perspective.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure to be here today. I'm Marina Mikkelsen. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
What a great panel. Thank you so much. Let's give it up, my friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate it, guys. A timely conversation. Next up, of course,